Hey guys, Chef Jojo with ECO, and on this episode of Shift Drink, we're going to talk about the 5 secret ingredients to find success in the kitchen. And as usual, we're going to share a shift drink as we talk about it. Wow, 5 secret ingredients to find success in the kitchen. Well, first off, I hate to break it to you, they're not secret. They're just a list that I put together basically on all the questions that you guys have been sending us over the months and years, like, hey, what about this or what about that? In fact, if you guys want to take a moment, you can subscribe to us on YouTube, hit the bell for notifications, or follow us on Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat. You can always DM us in any of those to ask questions that you want on the Shift Drinks. But here's a little bit of thought I've put together for what it takes, 5 major ingredients, if you will, to actually execute strongly and have a successful kitchen. And just because they are kind of common sense doesn't mean that they're common practice. And that's the tough part, right? When I go over these, you're going to be like, yeah, I knew that. But if I leave anything out or something that you think I missed, always, please comment below and let us know what you're thinking. But number 1 for me, you need to know your food cost and your labor cost. You need to know the cost of goods sold in your business. So many of us fire off at the hip on the price of a special or how much something costs, and we don't really dive down into it and say, oh, that's exactly this, or portion size that. I think, I'm guilty of it when it comes to multiple menus that you have to cost out in a time restraint. And you're like, one of my sayings is, it'll buff out. But when you're running your own business or trying to run a business successfully, you need to know down to the T or as much as possible how much it costs. And then how much does it cost from a labor standpoint? But that's one of them. You need to really understand the cost of what you're selling. Number 2, you need a good team. You need a dependable team. You need a group of people that understand what the main goal is and that their teamwork is going to get them there. And how hard that is in our kitchen or in our environments to keep a good team or keep people in the business, keep them working, is tough. So I think some of the things that help benefit the team is if you're organized. That's number 3. If you're organized, like you're mise en placed out in every aspect of your restaurant and in your kitchen. Everything is labeled where it's supposed to go, it goes there, and you FIFO and in and out. When somebody comes in on their first day, it doesn't take them long to jump into the mix. They can look and see and go, oh wow, this place is highly efficient and organized, and it takes a lot of the stress out of the environment. Number 4, you need good leaders on your team, and you need to be a good leader. Without that, the team will lose direction, and it won't really know where it needs to go. It won't understand the objective, and it will have a tough time communicating. And if you have a strong leader, you usually have a good team below them, and they are really trying to do whatever they can to be successful because the leader is the one that's driving the team. That's, everything from not just the kitchen, but from the front of house and the back of house, all has to be synergistic, or if that's even a word, but you need to be synced. The front of house needs to understand what the back of house troubles are, and the back of house needs to understand the front of house, because without everybody working together, it just doesn't really work that well. And number 5, you need to evaluate your business. So many of us are really easy to rest on our laurels. It's great when you're running a restaurant and you got a good recipe or you're executing at a high level. But you need to sit down and take the time and really understand the business, not just from the cost, not just from the team, but from an analytical standpoint. You need to go back through and take a look at your menu mix. You need to take a look at what sections are producing more money on certain nights than other sections. And you need to really take a look, is that because the server was there? That particular server does a much better job upselling. Well, then maybe you need to talk to that server and see how they're upselling, and so we can get your other servers to upsell. Or maybe there's one part of the kitchen that has too many entrees on it, and you got to do a line, basically a line check for them where you're like, okay, how many items are coming off each one of the stations? There's a lot of times when a chef will lean too hard into one of their skill sets that they're really good at. So if you have a chef that always worked the saute station and loves saute dishes, maybe they've got 15 or 20 items coming off a saute station and only 4 coming off the grill and 8 coming off the pantry. So then when you get slammed, it's really pigeonholed you into one area. And that one saute station cannot produce all that stuff. And then you need to start to evaluate that part of it. Oh, maybe we need to move these around or cut a couple of these items and get a little bit more weight carried over on this station. And you constantly do that over and over and over again. You train your staff. I think that's the one thing that we don't do well enough is when we evaluate, we modify and tweak a little bit, but we really need to focus on training. Football teams don't practice one time a year. Baseball teams don't. And your team gets to practice every night. You do a pre-shift, you go into basically your game every day. But a little bit of training goes a long way. Just a little bit of techniques goes a long way for everybody inside the restaurant. I don't know, if you can practice all 5 of those by knowing your cost, building a good team, having dependable people work for you, and then you use those teams to organize each area to where anybody can come in and feel like they have a shot at understanding it. Because you got to remember, just take the time to go back to that first day that you ever stepped into a restaurant. Remember those nerves. Remember how you're like, oh God, what am I going to screw up? Where should I put this? Or where am I going to work? Or where's the bathroom? Or when can we go on break? Or where does everybody go smoke? All of those. I mean, I guess I'm dating myself with the smoking, but and then who do you lean on? Like, who do you ask questions to? A lot of the times they say, oh, this is the person that's going to train you. And are they good leaders? Or are you just doing it because they're the ones that are there the most? You really got to look at that. And that it always falls back to that evaluation, reevaluate, and challenge. I mean, if you're not challenging yourself and your team, you're going to become stagnant. And if there's one thing in this business that I've realized, that if you're stagnant, sooner or later you're going to die or go out of business, which is kind of the same thing. You always want to provide an environment that people feel like they can grow. And I think that's tough, especially if you're a one restaurant type of situation. But with these 5 principles or these 5 ingredients, I think you can really lay out a great plan to find success. And maybe I've left something off. I'd love to hear from you about it. What are we missing? What should I focus on that you think that has been key to your success in the restaurant industry? And as always, I'm Chef Jojo, and you know what? Before I jump off, I went back to the teams. Guys, we have Chef ECO of the Month, and I think everybody should take the time and think and reflect back on their careers and pick someone that's made a difference in their career in the culinary industry. And send us an email at chefeco@extremecularyOutfitters.com. You guys could win $50 for writing in a letter, and if you nominate, that nominee that you get gets $150 worth of ECO gear. It's something that the family and I feel really passionate about, that we need to give back to the people that's made a difference in our lives and in yours. Because, if we don't take care of ourselves, who will? As always, I'm Chef Jojo, and until next time, cheers.